AI tools are exploding. Call screenings just landed in iOS and everyone seems to be talking about the death of Outbound. And I just don't buy it. Now, there is a lot of buzz around AI voice services, automation, call screening. Things are going to get harder. But the problem for me isn't AI. The problem is generic outreach. It's the lack of enablement, the lack of knowledge, the lack of capability, the lack of training and enablement. And so I'm definitely not anti-AI. I'm a big advocate for it. I remember hearing about ChatGPT when that was kind of the first thing that exploded a couple of years ago. And it was just before the Christmas break. So we're nearly 2.5 years ago now. And I remember getting hold of it and being like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? What is this thing? And what is it going to do? And I remember putting in it, write me a sales outreach script. And it wrote again, super generic. And it wrote me the script and I sighed a big sigh of relief because it was crap. It was generic. It was boring. It was broad. It wouldn't work. And so I was like, phew, my job is still here. Now we're 2.5 years on. And for me, nothing's changed. It's just made us more effective for those that know how to use it. And so definitely not anti-AI, but I'm just pro strategy. I'm pro consideration of of the opportunity. And so I feel like we've seen this AI, if we start with AI calling and AI bots around having conversations, I feel like we've seen this before with offshore call centers. Now, bear with me. I know they're not bots, but the moment we lose proximity, the moment we lose between that English being the first language or not. And again, I'm talking a lot around the clients we work with, which is mainly Australia, New Zealand, UK, Asia, and America. So I'm pretty much covering all regions there. But most of those, they are all English first speaking countries. And when I talk about Asia, we talk about mainly Malaysia and Singapore. Singapore's a very English speaking country because of the amount of expats and the way that they do business. And Malaysia is definitely becoming the same. But if we think about when we go through to those call centers and we've got, the airlines and your phone provider and your energy provider, and they've decided to outsource that to the Philippines or India or somewhere where English isn't their first language, and you are just met with that, the frustration of now I've got to try and explain it in a way that they're not necessarily going to understand because of the way that I explain it. And again, yes, it comes down to language, but it also comes down to capability and the fact that they're just volume driven. And so for me, this AI voice capability just reminds me of that. And the reason why we stand out in our services, because we provide, call services, lead development as a service, is we pride ourselves on the fact that we are in region. So if we're calling Australia, we're calling from Australia. If we're calling US, we're calling from the US. Now, there may be some crossover during certain time zones, but they're always English speaking with an accent that somebody recognizes and feels comfortable with. And so that for me has been really important as we've grown the business. When we think around the frustration and also the statistics that come up when we outsource to a call center, we're mainly talking B2C. It's very rarely B2B. And I do get the odd cold call, which is mainly looking at outsourcing to those countries. And it will be coming from somebody from that region. For me, it's switch off straight away because I just know it's going to be something correlated that's probably not specific to what we do or something that's actually going to help me. It's a preconceived idea, and I know you all have it. And so when we are calling from out of region, we're lacking familiarity. And the same principle applies to this AI voice. If it lacks context or tone and has that pause before it responds, or it responds in a really weird or generic way, then we know straight away, and that is only going to get better. So right now, what we're talking about today, and we are in July 2025, whatever we're talking about today is going to be better in a month, in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years' time. I do not doubt that. However, what happens when those bots become unrecognizable as human to bot mentality, and then somebody that's making a large or high profile decision for a large ticket item finds out that the last 3 or 4 conversations they've been building relationships with has been a bot? You're going to lose trust almost immediately. Now, we've been having these conversations across the industry for many months, and the same responses keep coming back. I don't want to talk to a bot. I don't mind talking to a bot if it means I don't have to talk to a call center. These are things that are coming up all the time. So I believe that B2C we're going to see an uplift, and I'm not going to see massive amounts of challenges or objections on that front. But we are a B2B platform. We are a B2B focused organization. And this podcast is for you, B2B. And so I anticipate what's going to come is that we are going to have more rules and regulations. We already know that. Politicians are talking about it. Massive global organizations are talking about it. And the fact that we have to have these rules and regulations in place, which I am all for. However, what I believe that that's going to bring is that when you are speaking with a bot, they're going to have to say that this is an automation. It is a bot. It is a call AI service. It is not a human. Imagine the same thing that happens when somebody answers and they're foreign versus somebody that's now a robot. We're going to have that preconceived idea. And so when we're thinking about our investments and where they should land, consider what may come in the future. So right now we have this big spike of conversations and interest around AI and these AI call options. I believe we're then going to see a drop off when we have to explain or provide information around it. Now, I saw a post just recently. It was actually something along the very similar lines of this. And it was somebody sharing that they'd reached out to work with a company, B2B, and they booked a call in. And at the end of it, they found out that that whole conversation was with a bot. Now, great to not know that that was the case and you got to the end of it. Absolute score for that organization. However, the idea or how they feel now about that brand has been diminished because they feel that they have been lied to or misled during those conversations. How interesting. And so the brand experience and your brand representation, we need to be really mindful of. Now, AI voice, as I mentioned, has a place, but context is king. So B2C scenarios, I saw one recently, somebody shared it with me, and it was around a gym. They were reigniting their leads. So they had a large pool of people that had been members and dropped off. They used an AI voice service, which was really clearly, obviously AI voice, because this was quite a few months ago now. It would have been earlier on this year. And I don't know when this campaign was executed. But what it would show is that a lot of people engaged in it and they had a really high uptake of people. Now, just for context, this follow-up was based on people that had previously been members or had inquired, and it was offering 1 month free. Consumers like free things. They like to be offered back into free things. And if the gym was something that they'd stop because they ran out of time or they didn't have money and they get a free month in, I don't care whether you're a bot. I'm going to say yes to that. So the context is key. But if we think about the B2B and our C-level decision makers who are already wary of us as salespeople, they're wary of our power now around AI. They're not sure whether the emails are coming from us or whether the LinkedIn messages are us or a bot. There's so much uncertainty. We're going to start lacking trust we're going to start losing trust if we continue down this path without additional context. And as I mentioned, we should be expecting to see laws and regulations hit within the next 6 to 12 months. And I anticipate, I don't have for certain, but I anticipate that the disclosure requirements stating that it's a bot will be one of them. And consent for recording and processing and personalization is already there. We have to stipulate if we are recording a call. That is why so many organizations don't do it, because it cuts the success rate in half if I'm stipulating that first. So things to consider around these AI calling centers or calling capabilities. I'm not saying it should be a no, but we definitely need to be mindful of it. I know for us right now, a key selling point is we use humans and we use them in region. And I do not anticipate that changing in the very near future. Now, a slight segue into the iOS update panic. So iOS announced that they were dropping call screening. I did a post on this and I got a lot of engagement and messages, and I've seen a lot more pop up since this announcement. Now, it feels like people are panicking a little bit, but let's just zoom out for a moment. Android have had their call screening for years. This isn't new. It's not something new in the industry. And if I look at the business that we run, so we've got sales training enablement, and then we've got lead development as a service where we have a team in region calling on behalf of vendors and organizations. Out of the large volume of calls that we do per day and per week are in the hundreds and thousands. The team have reported only 3 to 4 calls have shown signs of being screened. 3 to 4 calls. Now, of those screened calls, The success rate is really difficult to track because we don't know whether they would have answered with or without the screen, and whether it was because of what was said or whether it was because maybe they weren't available. Now, we utilize messaging around the vendor's name, the source. So often we're following up based on some engagement and some warm engagement. These are not cold campaign leads. And so we anticipate the call volume or the call acceptance rate to be much higher. So again, we're still working through that, but with only 3 to 4 calls to date. I haven't got enough intel to share with you, but I promise you that I will bring that once I have it. Now, the key to getting past these call screening services is relevance and recognition. So we open with a brand or a vendor or event name, connect the dots as quickly as you can, and then tie the message to something warm. It was great to meet you. I want to continue our conversation from. And if you're unsure, keep it really vague, keep it relevant to your name, but maybe don't share the organization. It will have an impact as to how well known your brand representation is in the market for these prospects as well that you're following up. And the only way we're going to be able to uncover more is as more get used and as more get switched on, which will be very interesting to see if it actually does. And so this isn't the death of cold calling. It's the death of irrelevant calling. It's the death of poorly executed outbound. And what we do know is that human-led consultative sales will stand out more than ever. It's going to be a massive selling point and a massive way to bring your conversation and bring yourself into the forefront and into the limelight with your prospects. AI should be used to support, not replace the sales process. Smart automation, back office, data, touch sequences, but just not the front line, especially not if you're dealing in high ticket offerings and solutions in the market, because these are high stake conversations. We wouldn't put an untrained rep on our brand. We're not going to do it with a bot either. It's things that I'm hearing from people in the in the industry sharing about what they're going to be doing within their organizations. And I know that a lot of these voice tools are coming. There's going to be more than we've ever seen before. Trial them, see what's working, see what's going to help. Maybe think about using one on your website as an AI bot that's going to be able to communicate. Think about ways to follow up maybe a proposal or admin. But really consider about who you are using to represent your brand on the phone and visually, whether it be through LinkedIn or email, because we need to lead with value. We need to connect in a really meaningful way. And in that way, we will outperform the bots and bad salespeople every time, because bots and bad salespeople could potentially go in the same bucket there. So we need to be really mindful. I hope you found this episode really interesting and insightful. The aim for this quick solo episode was just to bring to limelight what's happening in the world of AI, calling and bots, as well as looking at what potentially is coming up in terms of objections from our sales teams and from salespeople. It's an opportunity to stand out. It's an opportunity to be even better than you were before. That's what we've taken it as. Know that things will be changing. Yes, there is massive emphasis on AI at the moment, but I anticipate the rules and regulations will come in, and this will change the way that we are showing up and the way that we are diving in to decisions around this type of topic as well in the industry. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love to know. Come and find me on LinkedIn, drop me a note, and make sure that you're liking and subscribing across our YouTube channel, as well as across Spotify or Apple or wherever you download your podcast from. Thank you for being here, and happy selling.